This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Pool Party, and this is the 5-year anniversary 2v2 finals. This is going to be a best of 5 series between our Purple Soviets in the northwest, Alvin Tay. His ally in the southwest is going to be AntiDarwin, playing as the Red Empire, and it looks like Crane first out of Alvin Tay, and up in the northeast, we have as the blue ally c9q9md, who does have a very silly smurf presently, and his ally is going to be Mknappen. He is, of course, the cyan allies in the southeast, going for that engineer right quick after it looks like 2 dogs. So he is going to be getting some scouting out, some nice dogs running around the map, and a nice, actually killing off a couple of bears there. So really nice catch there by C9, is going to be able to lock down that barracks quite readily. And actually, Mknappen does indeed get that engineer, so able to lock down that engineer from AntiDarwin. It looks like we have the capture of both of these oil derricks by our right side team, and this is really unfortunate for Alvin Tay, who apparently just packed up his MCV, is actually going to be... Okay, so we have a super reactor on the way for Alvin Tay. However, in the north, it looks like Peacekeepers may actually get the kill on this Dojo core. AntiDarwin does manage to escape, albeit barely, and this dog still continuing to camp. The MCV not able to run it over, and so that barracks is completely locked down. That's actually really annoying, and C9, it looks like he may have, he already sold off his barracks. If he hadn't sold off his barracks, he could have put a lot more money into those Peacekeepers and done a ton of damage, but it looks like he's following it up with an airfield. And that is actually going to be exactly what we have here as well. And actually, this MCV rolling right past this 3rd refinery placement, so it could very well, in couple with this super reactor, be a Tesla coil push out of Alvin Tay, which could be some serious damage output. The Mknappen just now finishing up for AntiDarwin. He's got Peacekeepers on the front line. Hopefully the Imperial Warriors in this building will be able to hold the line, but the Peacekeepers can just run right past that building. Not too big of a deal there. But with no Tengus already out on the map, there's already a Vindicator here camping that war factory, and the Imperial Warriors getting cut down here. AntiDarwin not paying attention at all, and a Cryocopter out already for C9. He is going to be able to put on a huge amount of pressure. Doesn't even really need to follow it up with too much. It looks like he's got an Apollo and a Vindicator going to be following it up. We have the barracks getting thrown down, and also the Tesla coil. Alvin Tay desperately trying to pull something out, but unfortunately for Alvin Tay, he's in a really rough position with this Cryocopter in his main base. Is going to be going for his harvesters, and with that Apollo there, the Tengus will likely not be doing a whole lot. And a somewhat delayed 3rd refinery out of AntiDarwin. It looks like another Tengu did get eliminated there. Really unfortunate for AntiDarwin and Alvin Tay. They've been taking a ton of damage. A second barracks has gone down, but there's nothing being produced out of this barracks, so it's like you spent the money on the production structure. Have you actually done anything with it? A little bit more hopeful for Alvin Tay is going to be, actually, curiously enough, not going to be selling off the MCV. However, C9 is going to be packing up his MCV and heading a little bit away. Where's the Cryocopter? Actually, a second Cryocopter could be excellent in this position. I don't know if he actually has the cash to produce that second Cryocopter. And Liquid Ocelot, by the way, is going to be AntiDarwin, just the smurf that he is using in this tournament. Not sure if that's supposed to be a reference to Team Liquid or whatever, but we do have from Mknappen, he is going to be heading out with a couple of Apollos, a couple of Vindicators, but with this Defender VX here. AntiDarwin again not paying attention at all, did not switch that to the anti-air mode, got no shots off, and just lost that tower. While we do have the Tesla coil being produced, or being destroyed rather, he needs to go ahead and produce an extra harvester. Could have the harvester sitting at almost completed, and then go ahead and, as soon as that Tesla coil goes down, produce the harvester. Looks like the MCV has been pulled down back, and finally the barracks is going to be going down for Alvin Tay to pick up that oil derrick. But really, this is not where you want to be in this situation, like throwing down a barracks this far in, and after all of this wonky stuff has happened, to finally capture that oil derrick. It'll be nice to finally have the oil derrick, but ultimately that is not what you want to be doing right now. You want to be making units and not making barracks. And of course, you're going to be using that barracks to go ahead and put out some units to actually do some damage. We do have 3, 4, 5 Tengus heading up, but we do have a couple of Apollos nearby. I thought I spotted a couple of Apollos. No, it does look like the Apollos are here to defend, 4 in total, which is going to be way too many for these Tengus. And the Tengus without point defense are going to be able to take down one of those cryocopters, but really trading one cryocopter for 5 of those Tengus, absolutely not worth it in any way. This barracks has been saved. But, I mean, really, it's still not doing anything. Lost another Harvester in a moment here. A couple of more Harvesters will be going down, unfortunately, for Alvante. He has been able to grab that oil derrick, but really does he need both of these barracks, which aren't producing anything. Probably not in the south. We do have more Vindicator strikes going to be coming out against an AntiDarwin. It looks like he lost another tower as well. However, Riptide going to be heading out. Mknappen on top of that harassment, still locking down the center of the map with those Peacekeepers going to be establishing that third refinery and also going to be getting out some assault destroyers. C9, where is actually his MCV? I'm not sure exactly. He packed it up, and then he ran it off over here. Could be going for that third refinery. Should be getting a third and possibly even a fourth coming up pretty soon here. Because as long as you're doing that economic damage like he has been doing, sniping down those Harvesters, sniping down even the oil derrick is going to be getting eliminated here as a cryocopter freezing it down. When you're doing that sort of economic damage, force and sell-off of refineries, you can go ahead and take an expansion, take a second expansion. We do have a pretty nasty number of Tengus going to be built up from AntiDarwin, but really he's been playing from behind for the majority of this game, and Alvante is not a lot of help in this particular match. He's been getting hit absolutely really hard the entire game. He's going to be losing the oil derrick, and I mean his Tesla coil push did a little teeny tiny bit of damage, took out maybe 1, 2 Harvesters, but other than that, not really a whole lot of damage going on. And the Assault Destroyers are actually now down here next to, with all of those Tengus pulling away, this could be an opportune moment. There is point defense drones, so they should be able to do a fair amount of damage. And depending on how many Apollos are actually there, one Apollo does not get eliminated. It does escape, albeit barely. And this Cryocopter needs to go ahead and get on out of there, although those Tengus may be able to chase it down regardless. So the Cryocopter is going to be getting eliminated there. A nice pickup there, almost going to be destroying that body. Fortunately for Alvante, the Cryocopter's body does not actually do any damage. Unfortunately, that Riptide did get eliminated. Oh, but we do have the Assault Destroyers going to be moving and could go ahead and focus down the Crusher Crane just to make sure that there's no more extra production queues for... AntiDarwin going to be selling off that refinery. Never a good position to be in. He looks like 4 Javelin Troopers popping out of that Riptide. Mknappen with a huge amount of damage. 2 Apollos are going to be able to stave off this attack with the help of that IFV. However, the Tengu is going to be turning back around. They could engage into those Apollos. The Apollos can't really contend them in those numbers, and it looks like the Javelin Troopers with those laser locks are going to be able to lock down the Mknappen, and it looks like also going to be able to lock down that super reactor. It will go ahead and explode right there. Looks like eliminating a couple of Imperial Warriors, not a huge deal, as AntiDarwin has already sold off the majority of his buildings. He is going to be running in his MCV. He's got a small cloud of Tengus, but really, is that going to be enough? The play has been pretty darn great from C9. Just solid play, just straight up. Not a lot of cheese from either one of these players. And, I mean, it wasn't even like it was a particularly fast Tier 2 with that Cryoget and the GG getting thrown down. Alvante and AntiDarwin losing game number 1, but this is a best-of-5 series, so they've got more chances to go ahead and bring it back. But C9 and Mknappen looking absolutely terrifying in that game. A ton of power. I guess a little bit of a bug out there, as we do have, for whatever reason, Alvante and AD have shown up as the victors, but they did indeed lose that game. So, nice pickup there by C9 and Liquid Ocelot. Going to be able to just do some serious damage while holding off that Tesla push was absolutely great, and really just snowballed from there. Alvante never really able to get up any sort of units to do his own damage. He was mostly just relying on those base defenses, and that is not a good situation to be in, especially when your opponent has cryocopters. But that will do it for game number 1. Game number 2 is coming right up, which takes us to Cold Showdown, a map that is not seen very often in competitive play, and spawning as the red allies. That's right, it is going to be AntiDarwin. He is in the northeast. His ally, once again as the purple Soviets, is Alvante, and as the yellow allies in the northeast, we have Mknappen, and of course his ally, you know him, he is c9q9md, one of the craziest Red Alert 3 players on the scene today. But here's something really interesting is AntiDarwin, by the way, Crane first opener by Alvin once again, is AntiDarwin switching over to allies. And as far as I know, oh, nice catch there by AntiDarwin, going to be able to eliminate that dog. As far as I know, he is indeed going to be an Empire player. So Cold Showdown, either he feels that allies have more of an advantage on this map than Empire, or sometimes when you see players switch up their faction in a tournament, it means that they want to do some sort of crazy cheese. So we'll have to see if he decides to do anything like that, anything like fast cryocopters, what have you. Super Reactor once again getting thrown down, although this could be, you know what would be interesting with the Allied-Soviet combo is, of course, you have your Soviet player pack up their MCV, they drive forward, and then the Allied player queues up a multi-gunner turret, and then as soon as the MCV gets there, you throw down a Tesla coil, you've got the multi-gunner turret all ready to go, and it looks like Alvin should be able to grab that oil derrick without too much trouble. Mknappen already grabbing his oil derrick, and C9 neglecting to grab his, but he does have a nice force of Peacekeepers. He is going to be spotting that MCV in the middle of the map, but already putting some, well, not really pressure, but it's a slight contain by Mknappen. He's moving in with his Peacekeepers. He wants to make sure that he keeps an eye on this base, keeps an eye on this force. Walls going down, quite an interesting choice indeed. I guess it would allow him to cut off his opponent. However, we do have the Peacekeeper battles going to be happening, and it looks like Mknappen is going to be pulling back. Of course, he can't really contend with that sentry turret with those small numbers. However, C9 has already got the multi-gunner turret down on the ground. He's already got a couple of Vindicators out, which will help him deal with base defenses quite readily. Of course, he can take down a multi-gunner turret quite easily with those two, and are we just going to be seeing a simple Tesla coil? He's going to be dropping that barracks, and there is indeed going to be, wait a second, that's actually from Mknappen, so no, I was actually completely wrong indeed. We do have the Tesla coil going to be getting thrown down in kind of an awkward position. He will be able to possibly shoot that ore collector, but really not ideal of a position. However, the multi-gunner turret already being queued for Mknappen. Good moves by Alvin, but really Alvin not with strong standard play in any way. He's just going to be going for this cheese. It didn't work out well last game, and it's not looking too hot, although if he can score a number of crushes right here, yeah, it could have been good. The multi-gunner turret may be a little bit late here. If he had been able to throw that down earlier and get some damage out on one of those power plants, it's just not happening there. With the barracks right on the front line, he might be able to do something. C9 could actually go ahead and sell off an additional multi-gunner turret, but we've got bombing runs going to be coming in. The Tesla coil going to be finishing up right there, and will be able to definitely help in the offense here, as Alvin going to be repositioning his MCV once again, does grab it, does throw an engineer inside of there to go ahead and heal it up to full health in the north. Mknappen, a little bit of mouse glitch out there. Mknappen going to be once again massing up those Peacekeepers, so really a good alternative considering he's got to throw down money in the south here to help out C9 and just to help it deal with this crazy push that's coming out of AntiDarwin and out of Alvin. Once again, a Tesla coil going to be getting eliminated here, and these bears are not going to be able to get close enough, not in these small numbers. Alvin may be able to bust forward and take out those Peacekeepers, which would allow him to do more damage with his Tesla coils, but the nice snipe on that power plant. Really great moves here by AntiDarwin, and Alvin going to be finally sniping the power plants, which really should have been one of the first targets, because once they do that, C9 is seriously crippled, but C9 already going to be throwing down an additional power plant, should go ahead and start rebuilding the power plant. He has not yet, which is definitely a huge mistake. He is definitely probably struggling economically. I mean, I don't know for sure that he's struggling economically, but he probably is, just all things considered. Mknappen in the north going to be going for the snipe on that sentry gun. However, the nice sentry gun placement there of Alvin is going to be forcing that harvester to die. But the MCV is going to be getting packed up here, and it looks like the assault may have actually slowed down a little bit here. The MCV is going to be on the retreat. Yeah, the airbase was not eliminated. That airfield does still stand, and now with 4 Vindicators on the map, he can do some serious damage. But more importantly, the Peacekeepers in the north, they're in such great numbers, going to be able to take down this multi-gunner turret remarkably quickly. 1, 2, and 3 shots just to eliminate it, or rather volleys to eliminate that. The MCV going to be getting pulled to go ahead and deal with that, and dual refinery getting placed down. So now on that 4 refinery plus the oil derrick, really great economic follow-up by Mknappen. He is like, hey, well, you know what? You're going to turret push and then follow that up with nothing in your main base. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 refineries, force your MCV to chase my guys all over the map. Could actually go ahead and start splitting his army so that he gets some more shots off there and really forces AntiDarwin to micro his MCV, because that is not what AntiDarwin wants to be doing. He wants to be concentrating on other things, thinking about out what to do next and how to best use what limited forces he has. Unfortunately, Mknappen with a huge mistake here, not moving any of his forces at all, not even splitting them up, allowing AntiDarwin just to do huge amounts of damage, so definitely a big mistake, splits his last two at the very last second. But I mean, now he's got such a huge economic lead. Alvante with those 2 ore refineries, but really, C9 going to be throwing down that airfield in the north. And now Alvante is going to be beginning to do damage to the main base of his opponent, but already he can sack the main base, still have the expansion, and he'll be on equal economic footing with his opponent. Nice snipes of those Javelin Troopers, going to be eliminating them quite readily. This MCV has taken some pretty serious damage, and I mean, once your MCV is heavily damaged, it's just that much less effective in future engagements, and we may actually have a really bizarre swap here, as we do have the War Factory getting thrown down, and where actually is the MCV? It may have been sold off. I'm not entirely sure what Alvante did with that. He does have a Bullfrog now out on the field, but really, until that super reactor goes down, he's going to be all right, but in just such an awkward position, and especially if he starts taking some economic damage like he already has. It looks like a refinery did take a little bit of damage, or rather that harvester taking the damage. However, this is exactly what they need, some real defense, some real offense. But eliminating that turret, a nice move there by Mknappen. Doesn't even lose a single Vindicator. But really, this is what AntiDarwin and Alvante need to do, some more direct damage, because they did a little bit down here. But ultimately, this was, I don't even know who lost more in the engagement in the south in C9's base, because C9's base still stands. He didn't lose his airfield. I don't think he lost a single Vindicator, and so it was just a lot of like base defense trading, and it was really awkward for both teams. Neither one really did a whole lot, although it does look like 2 Vindicators do go down right there, but are they going to be able to contend the ground army of Mknappen, which is going to be rolling up here, does get the kill on that Terror Drone, going to be able to stop it from doing any real damage. Really unfortunate there for Alvante, going to be throwing down the reactor just to try to block off these buildings a little bit more, but the crane just got sniped. That's what it was. So nice strike there by C9. That timing was great just before anything did indeed finish. So both of those buildings did get canceled. That's just less buildings that they have to deal with. And of course, with the Tesla coil being taken out, that's even less. He's going to be focusing down the walls here. Not exactly a huge deal, as there's nothing there that he can really care about. But I mean, I guess it technically removes vision and doesn't allow Mknappen to sell off those walls. Mknappen needs to go ahead and make sure that he's being aggressive with that take, pushing in and doing some damage to AntiDarwin, which I guess actually... Wait a second, what? Oh, for a second I forgot that AntiDarwin was actually playing Allies this match. I was thinking he was still Empire for whatever reason. Hammer Tanks may actually be getting focused down here. Not a good engagement for Mknappen. We'll be losing both of those Vindicators. They go down right there, so not an effective trade for... Oh, actually going to be passing along a couple of veterancies, so 2 fully heroic Javelin Troopers, and we do have the engagement here. The Hammer Tanks, are they going to be able to get into the Peacekeepers and do some massive damage? Yes, they definitely are getting the crush on quite a few Peacekeepers, but the Vindicators are going to be coming in with some nice snipes there. C9 going to be doing huge amounts of damage, although the entire infantry army does get eliminated, and this will allow AntiDarwin's infantry to do massive amounts of damage. This one single Hammer Tank tanking a bunch of damage, but in the meantime, it does look like the Peacekeepers were able to do some damage. At least a number of Javelin Troopers from AntiDarwin were eliminated there, and finally Mknappen going to be doing some damage with this Guardian Tank, going to be forcing that Harvester into a command hub, and the rebuilding process has not begun for AntiDarwin, so he needs to go ahead and make sure that he pulls up that Harvester, because the sooner you start the Harvester, of course, the sooner it gets finished. A little bit sloppy there by Mknappen. Could go ahead and have sold that off a fair bit earlier, but once again, Mknappen was on quite superior economy for the majority of this game. Even C9 going to be setting up a 3rd refinery, possibly even going to be taking a 4th. But I mean, really, AntiDarwin does have the 2 on the left side here. I did indeed miss that. However, Alvante really, with just those 2 refineries, that is not where he wants to be. Losing the crane, the War Factory, and the barracks are really the only thing that he does have. But I mean, as long as he's got that super reactor, as long as he's got that tier 2, he is not in a too terrible of a position. Mknappen going to be taking some serious damage here, as it looks like, oh no, actually C9 with the strikeout against Alvante is going to be able to eliminate that super reactor, and from a range, taking no damage himself. Also, I think he did eliminate the reactor as well. So, I mean, these players kind of with a really awkward base trade as they're just swapping sides, but from like the middle of the side over here, the right side of that base. More Vindicators are going to be getting eliminated. Going down there, the infantry army from AntiDarwin is really quite powerful, but there's tons of Peacekeepers, and nice use of that Cryoblast going to be forcing the Peacekeepers to engage, but unfortunately for AntiDarwin, the same thing happened to him. The Hammer Tanks are doing a really great job of crushing those Peacekeepers and eliminating them from the battle, but it looks like the Javelin Troopers and the Peacekeepers that are left are not going to be doing a whole lot in this engagement. Unfortunately for AntiDarwin, he could not assist his ally Alvante in that engagement, and the Hammer Tank does go down, passing off a number of fully heroic statuses to those Peacekeepers, veteran and elite as well. However, Guardian Tanks are going to be chasing down AntiDarwin's infantry. They're taking a huge amount of damage. C9 busting through on the rear flanks of those infantry, going to be doing huge amounts of damage with the flank attack there, and really great crush. That entire army is currently completely eliminated. The offensive capabilities that these two players had, Alvante and AntiDarwin suddenly just getting smashed there. And the entire game just completely shifted, as now with the Cryoblast firing off once again, so many infantry and Guardian Tanks directly on the front line. The damage output is going to be absolutely crazy for this match, as suddenly there's nothing left, and Alvante has been defeated, throwing down that GG. He is out of this game, and just barely has AntiDarwin held on. He does have 2 refineries extra that were handed to him, but he lost 2 himself. Should go ahead and sell off that command hub. We'll get a couple of dollars back for it, but suddenly AntiDarwin has been defeated, tossing out that GG. What a wonky game. That turret push in the beginning, which was kind of like a dual turret push, but C9 and Mknappen able to defend it with their own base defenses, some Vindicators being mixed in as well. Such a weird game overall. And I mean, that will do it for game number 2. Game number 3 is going to be coming up, currently 2-0 for C9 and Mknappen. They're going to be enjoying a really nice match point coming right up. However, Alvante and AntiDarwin, can they start the reverse all kill? Because they're going to have to win 3 in a row to take the first place, which of course there is $40 on the line. $40, of course, going to be split between the 2 players, or a year of game replay subscription if we cannot transfer the money. And that will do it for game number 2. Game number 3 coming right up, which takes us to Hostile Hostel, which is, of course, named for the very hostile hostels in the middle of this map. Look how hostile they look. They're going to punch you in the face. That's how they greet you when you walk in the door. Mknappen is going to be the green allies in the northwest, Stabaning position, and his ally in the northeast. That's right, it's top versus bottom. It's c9q9md. And their opponents going for apparently a lot of barracks on the right side of the map. We do have AntiDarwin. He is going to be throwing down those walls. Got some serious wall swag going on there. That's not quite Eminence levels of wall swag, but it is some pretty solid swag nonetheless. Alvante is going to be the orange Soviets on the right side, but it looks like we do have dual, or rather triple barracks when you count it all together. So basically, instead of going for a turret push, this is going to be a little bit less cheesy, as we do have the sentry gun going to be going down behind these, behind enemy lines, so to speak. Although I guess it's behind allied walls is rather the correct term there. AntiDarwin not going to be bringing all of his Javelin Troopers. I don't know if that's intentional or not. He might be going to go ahead and throw down a naval yard so he can get out some Riptides, but that is, I mean, it's a possibility, or he just forgot to bring those Javelin Troopers along, didn't waypoint quite properly. But essentially in this game, C9 is indeed the target, so they said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go a whole bunch of barracks on the right side of the map. We're going to just try to force out one player immediately. And it looks like that player is going to be C9. Some nice focus firing here by, actually, AntiDarwin maybe getting eliminated here in terms of his Javelin Troopers. Nice moves there by C9. Is going to be able to stop those Javelin Troopers. That was actually really great, as he just knocks over both of those Javelin Troopers to eliminate them from being able to do their laser locking. Needs to go ahead and get those repairs exactly as he is doing, but C9 needs to be engaging with all of his forces whenever possible. However, it looks like Mknappen is going to be taking the middle of the map, at least a little bit there. However, we do have possibly the follow-up is going to be a turret push. It looks like a base defense is being queued by AntiDarwin, so it could be going for a nice turret drop inside of C9's base. C9 always losing with... actually, that barracks is going to be very close to the multi-gunner turret of Mknappen, so it'll basically completely shut off that turret from being able to fire over here. The Tesla coil does get thrown down, and look at that, he actually built a super reactor in his own base. Nice snipe of that Vindicator. AntiDarwin doing some damage there, is going to be able to eliminate some of the air forces, but now once again it's the battle of the base defenses. So they said, hey, you know what, this base defense push didn't work in the first 2 games, let's try it again. C9 going to be losing a second IFV, does eject the Peacekeeper at the last possible second there, could get some extra shots off, does lose it there, but Mknappen rolling up with a huge amount of Peacekeepers, going to be assaulting his enemies. And really, I would say assaulting their base, but the MCV by itself doesn't really count as a base. The reactor going to be running into some serious money problems. That project has lost funding, so go ahead and file the green slip of paper on your right to go ahead and get that funding reenacted. But we did indeed deny that, so your reactor project was canceled. So sorry, but we wanted to build a barracks just up and straight from that, and of course the barracks is a lot nicer. It's like a community playground for all of the kids in the area. Not even able to establish that second refinery. C9 is going to be under some serious pressure, but really, he's just dealing some damage with his buddy Mknappen, eliminating that MCV. Now there goes a lot of the strength of this attack. Hey, you got bears now. Well, we've got turrets, and bears, turns out, aren't very good versus turrets. But it does look like with the crane, Alvante will be able to survive. He is going to be throwing down a reactor once again just to cut off the attack range from that Tesla coil. He doesn't want to be taking too much damage as his attack really does depend on that Tesla coil. AntiDarwin throwing down some multi-gunner turrets, but the follow-up is going to be extra refineries, possibly out of Mknappen. He is going to be looking to go ahead and secure himself a 3rd and a 4th refinery, while we do have this barracks which hasn't produced anything, and Alvante is like the king of making barracks that don't produce anything because he's doing stuff on another part of the map. C9 going to be taking some serious damage. And unfortunately for C9, he's going to have to just give up his main base, but he will be able to go ahead and expand over here, set himself up a refinery, and get some economic rolling game going. And that was a really terrible sentence, but he'll be able to get his economic game rolling after taking some serious early game damage. However, it does look like, ooh, that was just enough to eliminate that almost worthless Tesla coil. But of course, once Mknappen and C9 clear out these base defenses with no MCV push coming out of Alvante, C9 can go ahead and set up his shop in his main base. We'll go ahead and get out that refinery whenever he can. He does have an oil derrick, which is quite nice for him, so eventually he's going to be able to get up some forces, but a really great follow-up from AntiDarwin is indeed going to be that cryocopter, the correct choice for sure. Now, we'll have to see, does he have the control to really use that cryocopter properly to do huge amounts of damage? Because you've seen it, you've likely seen it, I don't know, maybe you've never seen Relic 3 before, but I've definitely seen cryocopters be used super, super effectively. And it looks like actually pretty much everything has been eliminated in terms of base defenses and anything that would give building radius to our southern team. So C9 can actually go ahead and set up his expansion there, but instead he is going to be going for the center little plateau. But as I was saying, something about cryocopters can be really effective in the hands of the right players. Players such as Lichter can use cryocopters, and they're like, hey, $1,600 cryocopter, that's kind of expensive. I guess I'll go out and use it to kill like 8,000 credits worth of stuff from my opponents. Terror drone going to be heading up to the top right corner of the map. Unfortunately for that Terror drone, there aren't a whole lot of harvesters here for that Terror drone to go ahead and kill. However, we do have Apollos from AntiDarwin going to be scouting out C9, and he's like, hey, look at that, there's a harvester over here that you can harass, and he's got a pretty, is that actually, yeah, okay, that definitely is offset by about 1 hex, unfortunately for C9. He did make that little bit of a mistake, but I think the Terror drone just got eliminated there by the Vindicators. I'm assuming there's a Vindicator somewhere. If there isn't, I don't know what happened to that Terror drone. We do have the Sputnik all packed up, going to be going for an expansion. However, the 3rd refinery already established for AntiDarwin, a little bit behind that of the 3rd refinery for Mknappen, who's currently on his 4th. And the 2nd refinery of C9 currently being thrown down, could go ahead and get a 3rd as well. Might very well be working on that as we speak. However, both of these teams are in very odd positions just because of what the openers was. We did have the kind of heavy infantry early game, followed up by those turret pushes, and just like game number 2, it was extremely odd, and neither team really had a clear victory. They both took some damage, they both did damage. C9 probably getting the short end of the stick, having to relocate his MCB, having to relocate absolutely everything, as we do have Apollos going for Apollos. And of course, if the Apollos crash down on top of that airfield, they will get eliminated. It doesn't even matter because Mknappen with those Vindicators are going to be able to eliminate everything anyways. AntiDarwin going to be able to focus down the Vindicators, maybe does get one more. Yes, he gets all three of them. Great shots there by AntiDarwin, going to be able to eliminate that. He did lose his refinery and his airfield, so he's going to be needing to do as much damage as possible to make up for that. Unfortunately for him, C9 getting some good shots off with his Javelin Troopers are going to be able to do some serious damage. However, it looks like the Crane definitely going to be paying off huge dividends, as once these refineries finish, actually could go ahead and sell off that outpost now, get that money back. Already used up that Sputnik, but Alvante is still in this game. And actually... Engineer. Okay, so Alvante actually was able to grab the refinery from C9. So C9 going to be losing that refinery. Already does have number 2 up there. Going to be throwing down number 3 right there. So he's going to be pretty happy economically, but ultimately Alvante is simply in a better position economically. So C9 really in a rough spot, but AntiDarwin going to be getting forced to just sort of lose a couple of harvesters there. Unfortunately for him, his MCV is on the wrong side of the map to go ahead and deal with that. So that Riptide will be able to do some damage. The Riptide needs to go ahead and pull on out of there, or else he may actually be dying to this. Tesla coil is going to be getting locked down, I'm assuming. Okay, no, I guess that Tesla coil is not actually going to be locking down the Riptide. We'll go ahead and eliminate it right there. Assault Destroyers already out on the field for Mknappen, who is going to be able to start putting on some direct pressure with that Assault Destroyer, assuming he brings along a couple of Riptides. And of course, now that he's already got the Naval Yard down, he can go ahead and start working on that Tier 3, getting some aircraft carriers. There's so much water on this map that aircraft carriers would be absolutely awesome. And with that multi-gunner turret, he's going to be able to eliminate the building and also that Tesla Trooper without too much trouble at all. Looks like AntiDarwin may very well be going for his extra refinery inside of his opponent's bases. He actually is going to be throwing down that command hub inside of C9's old main base. C9 has gone ahead and taken that 4th refinery, and he has not been able to recapture his own ore refinery. It does look like this prospector could be going for a little bit of a turret push on his opponent. So actually, Alvante with some great moves here, but is it going to be enough? Both of these teams are in very weird positions. This is just like the wonkiest team games I've pretty much ever seen. C9 with hardly an alive Riptide is going to be able to do some damage, is going to be forced to pull around to the opposite side of the refinery, start doing some damage straight up to that refinery, and there is going to be that command hub. However, he is going to be taking some damage to that laser-locked Javelin Trooper, and the multi-gunner turret out of C9 is going to be eliminating that refinery. So good on C9 cleaning that up. Could have gone for a barracks to go ahead and recap it, but instead is going to be likely establishing his own refinery there because he did not sell off that command hub, which means he's still got that build radius. However, it is going to be aircraft carriers out of Mknappen. Great decision by him. Of course, he pretty much owns the high seas with those assault destroyers, who, if he continues producing them, he's going to be able to outmass any sort of Akula subs, and in combination with the Vindicators that he's got, or does he just have Apollos? He actually has 4 Apollos there. May actually have a second airfield full of Vindicators over here, so he should be able to own the seas with his aircraft carriers. Of course, they've got that EMP missile, which is absolutely devastating. He's got his assault destroyers and the Vindicators for that backup. Could actually go ahead and bring out some cryocopters as well, just to help with that. Oh, really great crushes there as... well, there goes the entire defensive force of AntiDarwin, but unfortunately for C9, he forgot to pack any anti-air, but never mind. Mknappen is packing all the anti-air that he needs. One Riptide does go down. The Bullfrogs are going to be able to save the second Twin Blade, which Twin Blades and Riptides, not the same thing. I'm not sure if you guys really realize that, but that was definitely a test to see if you guys realized. I think that's actually the same Riptide that would have assaulted this area a little bit earlier, but AntiDarwin has gone ahead and built up some stuff after he loses... well, actually, never mind. He's already lost both of those refineries. They're both sold off, I do believe, which means he's got that refinery, and I think that may actually be it. Everything else is just pretty much Alvante. Ooh, this is really not a good position to be in for AntiDarwin. However, Alvante going to be moving out with the Twin Blades to go ahead and start assaulting this base. They've got the Bullfrogs for that backup Twin Blade Bullfrog. not as effective as it used to be, but definitely it's still very effective. And those aircraft carriers are going to be doing a fair amount of damage. The assault destroyers just off shore, going to be waiting around. The Riptide's going to be moving in to do the extra bit of damage. Lots of Riptides going to be massed up, which means any sort of big infantry plays will be destroyed with extreme prejudice by Mknappen, who's doing a great job eliminating the old main base. And I mean, he can go ahead and expand here, and not really a re-expand, but definitely an expand there. And Twin Blade's going to be rolling up. However, there's so many Peacekeepers. These Bullfrogs may actually not be able to provide very much support. The Peacekeepers from the high ground should be able to get some shots off here. Looks like a couple of them are definitely going to be able to get the shots off. That Cryoblast not really doing anything pretty much at all, although AntiDarwin has gone ahead and established his economy in the north, so now it's right versus left. And also, not really left, it's like top left and center versus right side. It's very odd. But Alvante going to be having to deal with these aircraft carriers at some point. I mean, AntiDarwin has already been dealing with them, and by dealing with them, I mean he's been dying to them. Which is not exactly the same as dealing with them, but, you know, it's dealing with them as much as you can, which is just where you die, and you just sort of lose your base. But Athena Cannon's now currently out. A really great switch by C9. I almost called him AntiDarwin there. But he is going to be able to now get his own artillery up into the battlefield and really deal with any sort of Tesla coils that may be out there. But he has to be careful so that he doesn't lose anything to those Twin Blades, because, of course, the Twin Blades are going to be super effective at dealing with the Athena Cannons, at dealing with the Peacekeepers, at dealing pretty much with everything that's here, except for the Javelin Troopers, except for any sort of Apollos that roll up to the front lines. And there goes another refinery of AntiDarwin. So now that he's just got this little pocket over here and this water expansion over here, could go ahead and sell off that outpost, because, I mean, if you lose the outpost, chances are you've probably lost the rest of the stuff around the outpost, so you don't necessarily need that build radius. And that is... what in the world is going on? That's two Athena cannons with their Aegis shields going to be getting fired off, and that just looks like the silliest glow beam ever, as it's just shooting up, and that is quite ridiculous looking. But we do have now going to be directly assaulting the base of Alvante. He is going to be taking direct damage to his airfield as another Tesla coil does go down. This might actually be like setting a record for most amount of Tesla coils destroyed in the game. The aircraft carriers are lagging way behind this army, as well as the assault destroyers are lagging quite a bit ways behind. And nice kills there, the Mirage tanks, and on top of that, the huge amount of Javelin Troopers that are mixed into this army going to be helping C9 to break through the base of Alvante. Alvante up against some huge pressure, and there is going to be the Cryoblast, but what is the follow-up going to be? Are there any Twin Blades to do damage to anything that's frozen? No, it's just, like, I think that was completely just a delay move there, as we do have AntiDarwin. He did get enough money to go ahead and tech up to that Tier 3, get out those aircraft carrier, and he was able to, I guess, EMP infantry, which were already frozen, which I don't even know if that works, but Alvante taking a ton of damage. And actually, what is this? Is that a sentry bomber? That is indeed a sentry bomber. I do not even believe it. So unusual that they are used. Alvante has been defeated, going to be getting his Akula sub locked down, which I guess now it's AntiDarwin's Akula sub, and unfortunately for AntiDarwin, suddenly he is alone in this game, so it's just him, no more orange on the map to support him. AntiDarwin GG'ing out of that game, and those last two games were really quite awesome. First game, not so much, but the last two, just able to just scrap it out, and both C9 and Mknappen doing as much as they could to end those games, but AntiDarwin and Alvante with those unusual openers, a little bit cheesier, but I mean, it's team game, so there's going to be more cheese anyways, more unusual play that happens. But yeah, AntiDarwin and Alvante taking it 3-0, and rather I should say they lost it 0-3. But Mknappen and C9, a big congratulations to them. Each of them going to be taking home that $20. And of course, they did win the 5-year anniversary 2v2. So of course, there's the 1v1 coming up in just a couple of days. Be sure to check out GameReplays.org and Red3.org for all of the details on that. But that will wrap up the finals of the 2v2 tournament. And again, a big congratulations to Mknappen and C9. But of course, another big congratulations to Alvante and AntiDarwin for coming in second. A well-fought second place, but no games were they able to take. So that will do it for this series. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.